Hey, good morning or afternoon, wherever you happen to be. My name is Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. My main thing is helping you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, or also otherwise, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. I'm going to go ahead and set you guys up on Amazon. So shout out to y'all that are watching on the YouTube channel, on LinkedIn, through LinkedIn.com, through my profile there. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all that are connecting with me on Twitter at Brown Damon, and shout out to y'all that are connecting with me on Amazon now, on Amazon Live. Hope all of you are doing well and are healthy. I'm still dealing with some sinus issues. We actually have a big storm, it looks like. I don't know what's going on, but it's windy and everything here in Las Vegas. And yeah, we actually, I'm originally from the East Coast, and all my East Coast people are saying there's a big storm coming y'all's way. So buckle up. I heard there's still some snow coming right now. So please stay warm, stay safe, and all that good stuff. I've lived all across the country, and here we have heat strokes and things of that nature. But otherwise, Mother Nature is pretty chill here. Other places I've lived, like New Orleans, over on the East Coast, Mother Nature can get wild. So please be safe out there. Excuse me. Again, David Brown, Bring Your Worst Show. I come to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, trying to give you the insight and the tips that you need to do your best side hustle, create in the job that you currently have. And as I talk about my new book, Remix Your Career, you can subscribe for free here at youtube.com/Brown Damon. If you're on the YouTube channel or any of the other channels where you have little links, the link is lit up. You can go and click it. If it's not, you can copy and paste it, or just go to youtube.com/Brown Damon and subscribe. It is 200 episodes. I want to say next week. I am hype. The show's been going nonstop since December 22nd of 2020, which feels like an eon ago. I was talking to someone earlier today about plans for next year, and I had to put my mouth in a certain way to say 2023, and I'm like, how? If you have kids, if you have pets, if you have someone dependent on you that you're taking care of, then it's actually easier to measure time. And so if I look at my kids and they're growing like weeds, as they say, and I can look at them and say, oh, okay, time's moving fast. But between that and this show, I can't believe I started the show like just over a year ago. We're already at almost 200 episodes. I think this episode is 197 or something. Crazy. So thank you for all the love and support. Those of you who have subscribed. I've done 2 books within the cycle of doing this show. So a lot of time has passed. A lot of things have gotten done. And it's just been an amazing journey. As I mentioned, my new book, is it up there? It's up there. Learning how to do logos in here. Career Remix. Get the gig you want based on the skills you've got. Actually just got profiled in Inc., which is kind of like coming back to my alma mater, because I've had a column with Inc. for about 6 years now. I forgot to put it in the show notes. Let me go ahead and throw that in there right now. So forgive me for that. But you can go ahead and read an interview that Inc. did with me, as well as an exclusive excerpt from the book. I'm going to go ahead and throw that in the comments right now. And then once you rewatch this, then you'll see that in the comments. Each magazine interview on Career Remix. See, you can be 200 shows in, and it doesn't matter. You're still making up stuff as you go along. It just went live like yesterday, hence me being unprepared for it. But it's already been some really good feedback. Again, shout out to my editors and the other people that I worked with at Inc. Like I said, I think it's been 6 years. I think it's going to be 7 years this summer. Crazy. Again, I've been really aware of time right now. Maybe because we're changing the seasons soon. And it's kind of that middle of winter, at least here in the States, where it's kind of like, it's not quite spring. Obviously, you can might be able to hear the heavy wind outside. It's definitely the winter wind. But then Christmas time or the holidays, Kwanzaa, Diwali, as some of my family celebrates, like whatever you celebrate, that season is done. Hanukkah, etc. But then you're kind of in this in between. And again, a lot of my relatives over on the East Coast and some folks that are in the Midwest too are locked down, not only because of COVID and Omicron and all those things, but also because of the weather. And so it's that weird time where you're kind of like, oh, okay, this is the season for that. There's also a perfect time, I would argue, to revitalize your career, because we're kind of at that pause point where once those first buds of spring happen, which happens a lot earlier here, I live in the desert. But once that starts, then things move faster. Knock on wood, we'll be a lot healthier this coming year. I miss traveling. I miss connecting with people. As I mentioned, I have some events that are happening in the spring. So I'll go ahead and mention those briefly later on or in the next broadcast as we go deeper into that and gets closer. But I miss that. I think a lot of us are missing that. But if we're going to really enjoy that season and really be part of that season, we need to plant the seeds now. There's a lot of revitalization I'm doing of my own career, very meta, as I work on, or as I released Career Remix as it came out a week and a half ago. Excuse me. And that's part of the process too. And so as you're on your journey, I'm on my journey as well. So Career Remix, get the you want based on the skills you got. It is in paperback. It smells really good, but I'm a book nerd, so a lot of books smell good. Some books don't really have a smell. This book has a smell. So shout out to to Union Square and Company. As some of y'all know, I've had my own book imprint, Bring Your Worth, hence the name of the show. It's my big brand. For several years, had some bestsellers under there, including The Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur. And my latest book, Built From Now, which you all supported exactly a year ago. It was January 28th where that book came out. And around that time, I started talking with Union Square. And they're like, you want to do something different? I'm like, sure. So this is my first book with a big publisher in almost a decade. Basically, I haven't had a traditional book published since my children have been born. And my kid's going to be 9 this summer, my first one. So crazy. But thank you for all the love and support. Thank you to Inc. Again, you can read an excerpt and a brief interview with me down there. Excuse me. It's just like my long-run column and other things. I think the whole interview is like 500 words long. And it also has an excerpt of the book. Audiobook is coming soon. Again, hence me not having much of a voice still. Audiobooks are hard work. And I just finished it literally the week that the book was coming out 2 weeks ago. And so I'm still recovering from that. But the audiobook, as soon as it's available, I'm going to let y'all know. And yeah, it'll be coming soon. All right. Excuse me. Ooh, got a little cough spell there. So again, it's Bring Your Worth Show. Feel free to subscribe. It's always free. I think it'll always be free. We'll see where it goes. You know, Career Remix is out now. Union Square is a subsidiary of Barnes & Noble's. So if you get it through Barnes & Noble's website, more power to you. It's also available if you're watching on Amazon. The Amazon link is down there. You can also go to bookshop.org, which gets you and connects you to your favorite indie bookstores. I use bookshop.org. The links are actually below for bookshop.org. I have my own little shop on there. They can ship it to you, I think, in certain circumstances for free if you buy a certain amount of books. But then they will also, more importantly, point you in the direction of where you need to go for your local indie bookstores. So I can look it up and they'll say, okay, well, this one is in Vegas and this one is on by the Strip, and this one's in Henderson. This one's in Somerville, et cetera. Excuse me, not Somerville, but the other suburb over here, which I'm blanking the name of because I don't hang out there much. But, you know, it'll point you in the direction of where it is. And then you can go physically go there and support your local bookstore. Again, I have a indie publishing imprint as I'm working with Union Square. So I respect both sides of that, all sides of it. The traditional publishers need their support. As you know, they've been having a tough time as they've been navigating with supply chain issues, working with remote staffs, and frankly, getting these traditional books, which again, smell so good. Even my old book smells so good. These books haven't been supported as much because a lot of us, ironically, are on YouTube or on TikTok or what have you. Not demonizing that at all. You can catch me on all those platforms. But there's something beautiful. Again, I'm going to pick up the book that I just got. Oh, this smells so good. I just got it. And we're going to be talking about this book today, Ganbatte. For some reason I have a Spanish accent, but it's Japanese. I don't know. I know more Japanese than Spanish, but suddenly I have a Spanish accent now. But supporting all those mediums that get you there. One of the reasons why I started the YouTube channel was, number one, because we were sheltering in place, still are. I was not expecting that. I thought we'd be on the road by now, but I digress. But me being a keynote speaker, not being able to keynote in a traditional way. I did lots of keynotes last year, and gratitude to the organizations and people that had me come through. But almost all of them were like this. Like I was just talking back and forth, you know, through the screen, doing the comments and chats and all that. Pardon me. But that was part of the reason why, is I still wanted to connect with people. That's why I started the show. The other reason, though, was that I've done 8 books in the last 5.5, 6 years. And there's so many people when I started the show that hadn't picked up a book in a while, or weren't familiar with my books, or more importantly, my background is journalism. So if you grab one of my books, the references are going to be crazy. Like The Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, every single quote in here, everything that I mentioned, everything that gave me a hint of anything, it's all in the references. And so more importantly than me moving books, I wanted to find a way to connect with y'all. If you're not picking up books, if you don't mess with audiobooks, because almost all my books have audiobooks to them. If you're not doing that, then how can we have a bigger conversation? And so hopefully this will be like a gateway in a good way, a gateway to you going deeper into the type of side hustles you can do, into how you can remix your career, what have you. Again, had a good conversation with Ink, talking about some of that very thing. And today, in particular, on our live show, it's live every Wednesday, we're going to talk about how to simplify my life, your life, all our lives. It's been interesting where I've had so many conflicts over the last 6 months, where I have a certain framework for how I live my life. And a question I get asked a lot is, how are you so damn productive? And it's not even, I'm not even trying to brag on myself or flex or anything. Like, that's a common question, even with the people that I coach. It's like, well, how'd you do? You're the primary caregiver of your 8-year-old and 5-year-old as of now. That's how old they are now. But I've been the leader of that for several years, with respect to my wife, who has a different role in the house. And it's like, well, how you do that? And then you do 8 books in 5.5 years. And then you did like 2 TED Talks within the last like 3 years, and 4 TED Talks in the last 6, 7 years. Like, right. And you're still keynoting, you still have your private coaching practice. How do you do that? The biggest way I do that is framework. I talk about that in Build From Now, my book that came out a year ago, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. See, I still got the subtitle burned in my head. I don't even have to look at it. But, I talked about the framework in here. So shout out to y'all who have supported the book. But part of that framework is simplicity. And one of the biggest challenges I've had as my world has opened up, like, we're not traveling everywhere. We're still double masking. In fact, we're double masking now. We weren't double masking before. So we're even more cautious now, even though thankfully our whole immediate family is protected with excuse me, protect as much as possible. We'll leave it at that. And still there's this pressure to be like, well, do this, do that, do that. We're opening up where we could use your resources, maybe your knowledge, but I don't want to be too highfalutin about it. But like, what starts to happen is that if you're in a particular groove, in fact, I know the perfect old saying with that. If you want something done, give it to a busy person. I'm a busy person. And what happens sometimes is that we don't recognize our boundaries, and we just keep adding more and more and more. Where the reason why we're thriving was because we had clear boundaries and ideas as far as what was important and what wasn't. As one of the authors I'll talk about in a minute in the books I'm going to recommend today says, if everything is your priority, nothing is your priority. And I've been having a lot of those conversations where it's like, I want to be a part of so many different things that are, it's a privilege to know what you care about, what's important to you, what's your priority. It's a privilege. I've earned that privilege. You know what I mean? After, decades on this earth, it's like, I have a laser focus as far as what matters to me and what doesn't. The challenge is when there's a lot of opportunities that come in that fall into that purview, you have to start saying no to things that you don't want to say no to, because it's part of your life's mission or whatever you want to label it as. But then it's also more tricky, and to use a complicated word, insidious, when it's something that's on the borders of what you're interested in. And it sounds cool, but it's not quite it. And so I'm known for having things relatively simple. And even I'm going through this deep simplification ritual because so many things are happening at the same time. There's so many great opportunities, but you got to choose. You have to. I talk to my kids about this all the time. You got to choose. You can't have two desserts. You got to choose one and then maybe have the other one later. You can't do both. You can't always do all, you know, and the earlier or quicker we understand that, the smoother our decision making will be. And if you're worried about productivity, the more you can actually get done. So this one is close to my heart today. Kind of like last week when I was talking about getting centered. This week, it's like prophetic. I'm like, I'm going to talk about simplifying my life. And it's like, woo, all this stuff is coming up. So we're going to talk about some books that are helping me on my journey and hopefully will help you on yours. Again, Career Remix out now. I won't talk about it anymore. The first book I want to talk about is Ganbatte. See, almost got it. Believe it or not, I used to know a little bit of Japanese, but I am ridiculously rusty that I would just embarrass myself. And it takes a lot for me to get embarrassed. Ganbatte by Albert Liebermann. Really good book. I wish I could remember who recommended this to me a few weeks ago, but it was someone on social media. And they didn't recommend it to me directly. They just mentioned that they were reading it. So shout out to you if you're watching. Feel free to jump in the comments. I apologize that I forgot. You probably didn't even know that you influenced me. But thank you, whoever you are. I promise I'll go and look it up after I get off the show. But it's a really interesting book. It's by connected to Hector Garcia, excuse me, who's the co-author of Ikigai, which is about best way I can describe it. It's this Japanese philosophy of overlapping. It's like 4 different parts of the overlap. Forgive me struggling here, but it has to do with, if you've ever seen that that union, so the combination of 4 different circles, it has to do with what you love, what the world needs, what you're capable of doing. I think there's one other thing to it. An overlap of all those things is Ikigai. This is related to that book, but it has to do with the Japanese art of always moving forward. The idea of always moving forward, as a coach, I have some reservations about that because I think, at least here in America, I can speak for Japan, but here in America, when we talk about always moving forward, that also often means forgetting whatever trauma was there and moving on to the next thing. I don't think that's what they mean in here. You know, I've read the book. You see the dog ears here. It's a really good book. It's also a gorgeous book by Tuttle. If you know your books and you know your history, Tuttle is known for their beautiful books and visuals, particularly when it comes to maps. Excuse me, this fits the bill really well. Look, you can see my food on here. You know, it's just like, I just got it like a week ago, and this is already in there really good. And it reminds me a lot of like the Daily Stoic, even though I think the Daily Stoic would actually be inspired by it, since this is more of a classic Japanese book. I'm guessing that Ryan Holiday and Stanford Hanselman would agree. But it's really, really short. I think it's like 50 chapters. And it's just like, right, the Kaizen method, which has to do with Toyota, which, if you know your corporate history, you know, that was a big deal. Probably around the time I was born in the 70s. But the chapters are really short. and there's a certain meditation quality that I love with it. So I just took a bath and I was reading it, just being able to like get centered and enjoy it. And there's certain simplicity to the book. And shout out to Albert. Again, I just got the book like a handful of days ago. I got it delivered to me, and I've had a hard time putting it down in a good way. And it's just something where, you know, the kids are doing what they're going to do. My partner and I have our issues, which happens with partnerships. You know, things are due, bills are due, work is due, stuff is just going. And to be able to just grab a book. I swear over the weekend, I was reading this and I was crocheting. No lie. And it's just, everything is right in the world. And understanding that what I've interpreted from the book, and I'm going through a good read of it again today, is you have all the resources you need. Similar to what I talked about again in my previous book, Build From Now, like you have all the resources you need. And if you cultivate your patience, you understand what your priorities are, and you stay centered in your priorities, then you'll make the right decision. Simple as that. If you want a good pairing for this, an episode from the show to watch, it's about, I think this episode is about a good 10 minutes. It's on Thich Nhat Hanh, who passed away about a week and a half ago. Actually dedicated my previous show a week ago, a live show, to him and his practices and talking about his work and his classic book, No Mud, No Lotus. I'm actually reading another book of his today, which I'm going to screw up the name of the book, so I'm going to pull it out. It is Peace is Every Step. Peace is Every Step. I'm actually reading that as we speak. Again, it's been a turbulent week or so, so I'm reading half of it, listening to half of it this morning. Fascinating book. But if you want to learn more about his other work, including his bestseller, his bestseller, awesome book, No Mud, No Lotus, go ahead and check out the video. Again, it's like 10 minutes long. I think it's worth your time. The next book I'd recommend is Essentialism by Greg McKeown. If you've been a long-time viewer and first-time caller to this, as they used to say in the radio days, shout out to WKRP and rest in peace to the people that passed away from there. Essentialism is one of my favorites. Greg McKeown, awesome book. It's the idea of minimalism, but from the standpoint of priorities, which I think is really important. When people talk about being a minimalist, and I use that word every once in a while to describe myself, but it's a loaded word because minimalism is almost like a stripping down of things, which is okay. And if you identify as minimalist, cool. But essentialism, I think, has a nice ring to it because it has to do with what exactly are your priorities? What's important to you? What's important to me is connecting with y'all as a coach, as a keynoter, as I guess as an executive producer and a TV personality now. That sounds way too highfalutin, but you understand what I'm getting at. A YouTuber, let's just say YouTuber. Excuse me. As an Ink columnist, because I've been a columnist for Ink for the past 6 years, etc. It's being a good leader and supporter of my kids and making sure that because of my influence and by extension my wife's influence, that they become better people and they contribute more than they take. And being a great partner to my wife, and as well as supporting my family. Those are my 3 priorities. Anything that falls outside of those priorities, I don't know how much it matters. Brene Brown has talked about this, and that'll be an upcoming episode. I can give you a quick foreshadowing of that. I'm working on an episode right now talking about that, and Brene Brown. Shout out to her for standing her ground as far as with what she's going through with Spotify. It has to do with understanding what you're not going to do. And like Greg McKeown says, what's essential. And he talks about his own journey with this. Fantastic book. Another book that that my wife got, I nabbed it off our bookshelf with her permission, and it's been on my bookshelf for a while, but I read it regularly. If you see the empty spot on my bookshelf over there, that's where it usually is. Over there. Over by Adam Grant. Shout out to you and other folks that I really respect. Excellent book. Excuse me. If you want to hear a little bit more about essentialism, I have one of my earliest episodes, so from about a year ago, excuse me, and it's about how Bill Gates and Warren Buffett got rich with time. To be clear, this isn't about getting rich. It's not about making a bunch of money. It's about maximizing the time that you have. That's what essentialism is about. So, the title, don't get it twisted. It's not about like how to become a millionaire. No. It's not about that. You might become a millionaire because you're managing your time better, but it's really about managing your time better. Check out the video. I've gotten some really good feedback on it. I think you'd appreciate it. My last recommendation would be The Power of Habit. I don't know who Harold is. Habit. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, former writer for the New York Times, which is I think where this book was inspired. Now he's with the New Yorker. Shout out to him as far as doing the good work. It's a really good book as far as understanding making the conscious unconscious conscious. Well, we have certain things that we do and certain things that that routines that we go through, and we don't think about them. As many people have said before me, that's one of the few blessings, because I'm not going to say it's been an easy couple of years, but one of the blessings of the pandemic is that it's forcing us to slow down and understand, bring the conscious, unconscious, conscious, and realize all those things that we're just doing. And it's like, why are they routines? One thing he talks about, which I love, and I've shared this with my coaching clients, is something called a keystone habit, where if you can change one thing and all these other things change. Like if you eat a little bit better, however that's defined for you, because it's all different for all of us, because we all have different bodies. If you eat a little bit better, then you'll feel better. Maybe some of your illnesses, chronic or otherwise, might be managed better. You might feel better about yourself, which will help your self-esteem, like, etc. That's a keystone habit. So what you want to focus on are things that are keystone habits. Let me do this one thing, and all these elements of my life go for the better. That was my favorite chapter of the book, but he has way more gems than that. And highly recommend the book if you're looking to simplify your life, because if you can do this one thing, change this one thing, and pardon my French, all this other shit goes better. That's simplification to me. Another book I would recommend, which I did not put on the list, would be Upstream by Dan Heath. Shout out to him, because I love that book. I read it last year and it really changed my view on the year, as well as in my coaching practice and how I do the business of my business. That's a good pairing to this book. But start with The Power of Habit if you're looking to simplify things. I have a whole playlist, excuse me, dedicated to habits and routines. It's about 12 videos. Jump through them, whatever. Have a good time. And I've been talking about this for, again, how long has the show been on? Year and a half? A year and a half. So it's been great collecting all this wisdom and habit ideas from, again, Brené Brown, from Oprah, from Simon Sinek, and other folks. So dig in, have a good time, binge as much as you like. I think that's everything. I am losing my voice because I'm still recovering from the audiobook. Shout out to MGD Music in downtown Vegas, who hooked me up and took care of me. I appreciate y'all, as well as the publishers. And I can't wait for y'all to get the audiobook. If you want to learn more about Career Remix, be sure to check out the link that I have right here. I'm on Highlighting the Inc. magazine right now. It's a brief interview and an even briefer excerpt, but it'll give you ideas as far as how this book can help you on your particular journey. And it is available everywhere. Let me get the link right. You can tell I'm adjusting my glasses right now. Career Remix is available. Check it out through Barnes & Noble Publishing, their subsidiary, Union Square and Company. Get it there, or get it, as you know, if you're on Amazon, you click the Amazon link. It's available on paperback, Kindle, soon to be audiobook, hot off the press. As soon as I know, you will know when it's available. And you can always catch me on the Bring Your Show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, live on Wednesdays, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. You can subscribe for free at youtube.com/BrownDamon. And we're approaching 200 episodes. I'm so excited to celebrate with y'all. You guys give me energy. I appreciate it. And hopefully I'm helping you on your journey. Until next time, remember that you can always bring your worth and that you can always build from now. Take care.